Feeling better?
Yeah. I was in the office down there Friday. I couldn't tell nobody. I was down there,
I didn't know you were down here.
That was Friday, it wasn't today, it was Friday.
Now ours called me again today, wasn't no.
I'm coming down first thing in the morning. You're telling straight.
You've done it for yourself and for the marathon.
Right.
Not as fun.
Last year, I was travelers, so I don't think I'd be able to come here. They made it quick today.
Oh, that's good.
So they would make it.
So you know why I live.
I got election training.
Oh, no. Ran off the water.
One at 1:30 in the afternoon. Okay, they have a day meeting.
I want to make sure I see it.
In the afternoon. So I didn't even realize that. Get out of town. I mean, I'm actually almost.
It looks familiar, but I'm not terrible on remember that anymore. He's the last one.
Yeah, every 2 years. I just read
Familiar, but don't know where I saw it.
But this thing, now if they told you when all of this is where the city's coming on this kind of yeah. And disagreements on how far away from
that's one way of looking at it.
city.
I'll let you have it.
How far away from the road. Y'all make it.
But, I mean, it all works.
It's the city road and the business part. What's the right of way? It's an empty lot right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that road that goes right there. Right, it's not a permanent sign. It's out saying it needs to be by the road. And some officer says, well, it has to be like in the middle of the property. And I'm like, no one's gonna see it because it slows down.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started at 7.
It's definitely temporary.
Yeah.
Like 15 feet.
We can't officially start before the election starts. 7 o'clock. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. A special call meeting on February 27th. We'll welcome everyone to the Fiscal courtroom tonight. And at this time, we'll call the meeting to order. And if you would, Jim, do you mind leading us in the prayer?
I will. Our Father God in heaven, we thank you for another day. We thank you for this opportunity to come to meet tonight to discuss county business. And Father, as we always do, we ask for your guidance and wisdom, making decisions. And Father, we pray that the decisions we make will be the best for this entire community. Father, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who came and died on the cross for forgiveness of our sins. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Now, if you would, join me in the salute to the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll ask Lynn, if you would, call the roll, please.
Squire Stump,
Here.
Squire Ferris,
Here.
Squire Eldridge,
Here.
Judge Travis,
Here.
Squire Travis,
Here.
Squire Cotton.
Here.
All right, thank you. We're all here. We have two items on the agenda tonight. The first one is a community development block grant closeout. We have Doug is here with us for a short time. I know he has another meeting to go to. But I handed out, if y'all have this paper right here that we got handed out, talks about this block grant. Basically, in order for us to apply for another block grant, which we have agreed to apply with the city mayor, and glad Mayor Karen Spencer is here, the city of Taylorsville, and then our water works fellows beside her, Harold Compton, glad you're here tonight. But anyhow, for the city and the county to apply for these block grants, we have to close out one that we still have going on. And Doug is here to answer any questions about it, and there's basically $9,975 that we have to send back to the Department of Local Government. And by doing this, it'll close that grant out. And Doug, I believe it was for a utility assistance grant?
Yes.
Okay, and, but anyhow, that much is left over, we need to send it back and be able to close that out. So I would entertain a motion to close out this grant and send back the $99.75 to the Department of Local Government.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mike, is there a second? Seconded by Zach. Motion was to close this out and mail $99.75 back of the Community Development Block Grant, Department of Local Government. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is the top flight with a discussion with MSD and other individuals. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. I'm guessing that some of you guys in the crowd that we don't usually see are maybe residents of the area or just interested parties, but we're glad to have you tonight. At this time, we don't have a particular order on how we're going to do this, so I will just turn the floor over to anyone from MSD or Mr. Jack or whomever would like to address us.
I think I'll start. Good evening, thank you, Judge Travis and the court for having us back tonight. My name is Steve Emily. I work at Ocean Advisors. I work as a consulting engineer for the owner of the Top Flight Sewer System, Jack Tannenberg. Jack Tannenberg is here in the sweater. And for those of you who may have been here in the December meeting, Wes Sidnor and Kevin Gibson with MSD are also here with us tonight. And the purpose for the meeting tonight is really threefold. For those of you who were aware, we came to the December fiscal court meeting to present an interlocal agreement to the court proposed between Louisville MSD and the Top Flight and Spencer County Fiscal Court. And it's the opinion of MSD that they need that interlocal agreement if they were to pursue the acquisition of the Top Flight sewer system. Now, on the heels of that meeting, there was some discussion about the need for some more public input from the residents of Top Flight and also kind of the desire to push the issue to the new court. So I'm going to kind of regurgitate a few things that you may have heard in the December meeting. So that the input, the purpose of tonight's meeting is really to get feedback from the new court, feedback from any residents who have an opinion or thought that they want to share. I'm going to start with just a little bit of background about the Top Flight sewer system. The sewer system and the wastewater collection system and treatment system was installed by the original developer of the system, and it was transferred to Jack Tannenberg is the sole proprietor of a system called Kentucky Small Utilities Consulting LLC. So Jack has been the owner of that system since 2015. Again, the system dates to about 2005, 2006 when it was built. Just a few operational tidbits about the system. It's a It's a redundant system. It's got dual trains at the treatment plant, so it can treat at an average of 120,000 gallons per day. And we currently have 168 customers, and we have about 245 total projected customers within the top 5 sewer system. So when Jack took ownership of the system in 2015, each one of these systems in the state is required to have a licensed wastewater operator oversee the daily operations of the plant. So Jack relied on a very, very small contract operator for 6 years from 2015 to 2021 who oversaw that daily oversight of the plant and made sure the plant was in compliance with all the discharge regulations. If you remember, in the summer of 21, it was actually the 4th of July weekend of 21, they had a pretty catastrophic overflow at the lift station in the subdivision, and it resulted in a pretty substantial amount of sewage entering Buck Creek. And as a result of that episode, both the cleanup and repairs that the owner eventually absorbed totaled well over $200,000. The county actually absorbed some of that cost additionally. Top Flight has since reimbursed every penny of that back to the court. So again, pretty catastrophic failure. It was a huge financial impact to the system. And as a result of that, we really recognized that there were some operational needs that hadn't been met in the past, and we began to look for a new operator of the system. So we talked to several other private operators, also engaged Louisville MSD about their potential interest in operating the system. And as a result of that, beginning in November of 21, Louisville MSD began as a contract operator working for Jack to oversee the daily operation of that plant. It's worth noting also that Jack is the sole proprietor. He's not getting any younger, and sorry, Jack. He has been considering for a while now the need to eventually consider an exit plan from ownership of this system. So the whole time that we were engaging potential operators, we were also talking to those operators and owners about any interest they might have in purchasing the system from Jack. So we talked to public entities, private entities, and really Louisville MSD emerged as the only local publicly owned wastewater utility who had an interest in the system. So as a result of that, that's really what initiated the discussion about the interlocal agreement in the fall of last year and brought that to the court in December. If the system is sold to MSD, and I want to make sure this is very clear, if the system is sold to MSD, this interlocal agreement between MSD and the court will be required. If the sale is to another private operator or owner, we won't have a need to come to court, and there really won't be any approvals by anyone other than possibly the Public Service Commission for that transfer. I want to talk a little bit about the service side of the business as a resident of Top Flight. Our interest would be having the highest quality service we get at the lowest possible rate that we can get. So I'm going to talk about the service side of the business and let Jack talk a little bit about the rate side of it. And both of us have been involved in the wastewater side of this business for a long time, and we've seen many of these small privately owned package systems have both financial and operational failures over the years. And it's our opinion that this system is best transferred into the hands of a competent local and publicly owned utility. MSD is the largest public wastewater utility in the state of Kentucky. They operate regionally in Jefferson County and portions of Oldham, Bullitt, and Shelby counties. So really that's why we decided that MSD would be the best long-term owner of the system. On the service side, I think it's important to recognize that MSD has a 24-hour, 365-day-a-year on-call customer service center. So if you call MSD anytime, day or night, you're going to talk to a person. They have the same service on the operations side. So if there's any type of a mechanical failure, any type of a blockage or obstruction, a backup, there's 24-hour response to all those issues. Also, given their experience with Top Flight over the last 18 months, they learned that they understand the system very well at this point. So we don't expect any surprises in terms of that issue. One of the important things that Jack was talking about is really the stability of the rate platform that MSD offers that we don't believe others would offer to the residents of Top Light. And again, as I said before, we think that there's inherent interest both from Spencer County itself and the residents of Top Light that this system be transferred into public hands. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jacqueline to talk a little bit about rates, future rate issues in the system.
Thank you, Steve. To give you folks a little bit of background, I come at the rates question having had 26 years of experience with the Kentucky Public Service Commission, which regulates utilities. So I have some sense of how these things are. Top Light charges $54 a month, but it discounts to $50 a month for people in automatic payments. MSD proposes to charge $57.75 a flat rate within 30 days of closing. MSD also proposes, as I understand it, to cap their percentage increases in 2024 and 2025 at 6.9%. So the takeaway from this is that Top Light Sewer System and MSD proposed rates are generally lower than for comparable investor-owned utilities. And the two most prominent examples of that are Bluegrass Water and Kentucky American Water Company out of Lexington. And MSD's proposed 6.9% increases are much lower than those approved or planned for comparable systems. With that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bluegrass Water. Bluegrass Water basically is a Kentucky affiliate of a company out of St. Louis called Central States Water Resources. And Central States came into the state in 2019 or so and is a very aggressive acquirer of the small sewer systems. They currently have about 20 in Kentucky. Some of the notable systems they have include Kingswood, which is about 10 miles away from here in Bullitt County, Woodland Acres, which is in northern Bullitt County, and Persimmon Ridge in western Shelby County, just outside of Jefferson County. Bluegrass Water is willing to take on very small systems. For instance, in Bullitt County, they have Lake Columbia, which only has 33 customers. In Franklin County, they have Fox Run with only 34 customers. Woodland Acres has only 104 customers, and Kingswood, again, nearby Bullitt County, has 133 customers. All these have a smaller customer base than Top Light Sewer System. The current flat rate for Kentucky systems owned by Bluegrass Water is $85.97 per month. They gave notice to the Public Service Commission about 60 days ago that they were going to file for an increased rate. And I have been anxiously watching the PSC website every day to see when they would file that. Well, they filed it at 4:30 today, and they're proposing a roughly $14 increase to $99.37 per month. And I'm going to give you folks the customer notice that they filed with that. Sorry, I don't have enough copies to go around.
We can stretch it and get
I've got,
You got one, you keep it to Google.
the other large investor-owned utility that owns some sewer systems is Kentucky American Water Company. They only have 4 sewer systems. They are not nearly as aggressive as Bluegrass Water acquiring these small systems. They do have different rates for the 4 systems, but all have approved 4-step rate increases. For 2 out of the 4, they will exceed $100 a month by 9/1/24. For the other 2, they are in the ballpark. So, in addition to investor-owned systems, there are also some public systems that have relatively high rates. Ledbetter Water Sewer District in western Kentucky, has an unmetered rate for sewer service of $100.61 monthly. There are approved rate increases for Garrison, Quincy, and Jessamine South Elkhorn coming in the latter half of 2023. And I have so many papers, I'm just not gonna get into that, but it's pretty substantial too. And there've been some large rate increases proposed by South 641 Water District, 77% increases, and Higginson County Water Sewer District, 144% increases. Full disclosure on rates. You can find cheaper sewer rates on the PSC website. For instance, Graves County Water Sewer District, they last raised their rates in 1996. Ridgely is an investor-owned sewer system in Grant County. They have a $30 rate. Their owner wants me to help them with a rate increase because they haven't raised their rate since 2004. There is another small system called Commonwealth that last raised its rates in 2004. Again, those are 3 examples of systems that have kept their rates low for 2 decades or more, but they usually when you see that, it's a subsidy issue. For instance, in the case of Ridgely, the owner also owns a service company, and he makes the majority of his money on the service company and really doesn't pay much attention to his sewer rate. So, Letcher County Water Sewer District has a monthly rate of $20. And what you will find with a situation like that is they are generally funded by free money in the form of government money. And you will also find some pretty strange financials with them. For instance, Letcher County Water Sewer District has 22 customers. They have a net loss of $16,059 for 2021. The utility plant they recorded is $567,000, all government funded. If you take the net loss of Letcher County and divide it by the customers, the $16,000, if they were to break even, that would require a $60 a month rate increase. Excuse me, I have so many papers that I can't find them all. Another one here is the Knott County Water Sewer District. They charge $26.94 for 5,000 gallons of water. They have a net loss that is actually several $100,000. Their net loss, their recorded net income for 2021 was negative $326,534. They have gross utility plant of $7.7 million government funded and 166 residential customers. So where you find low rates like these on the PSC website, generally it is a publicly owned system that basically has gotten grant money. So that's really all I have. Thank you.
Does any of the court have a question for Jack or Steve at this time? Continue, yeah, you're up. Yeah, go ahead.
I won't add much to what Steve had to say. I'll just speak for the MSD side. Well, first on West Seymour with Louisville MSD. A couple of things when we came in December that took from the draft of the island. At that time, I tried to address, there was a question about stormwater. I guess first of all, there was a question about taxation. MSD does not have the authority to collect taxes, so that's one thing. In Jefferson County, we do have the delegated authority to do a stormwater fee. During the comments and feedback that we got last time, we explicitly pointed out that this would not be part of this deal. Talked about public notice, and so this meeting will get this scheduled. And I know that Jack and Steve have been very active with the HOA in getting communications out over the last few weeks about what this transaction could mean to the customer in Top Flight. And then the third thing was about growth, and I just wanted to just state that MSD in this situation, we are here to enable growth, so we'll check for capacities at the plant, but in terms of Planning and zoning, that responsibility still lies with this body. So any growth would have to come through the rules process, and we won't undermine that. I just, one of the things I want to call out is that Jefferson County cannot pay for systems like this and vice versa. So we set up a firewall to do that, so that rates that are collected here are safer. So, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that. Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Do y'all have any questions before we open it up to the public? All right. Thanks, Wes. At this time, I would invite anyone in public that would like to voice a concern, voice an opinion, voice a thought on the subject.
I don't think we have a concern. I'm a member of the top flight. I don't think we're having an issue with it being sold. I think we're just concerned about rate hikes. There's still a lot of land being developed. We're getting more houses. We've always had a low amount for our sewers, so what are we looking at, rate hikes, and is it a cap? At a certain percentage each year, or is it several years, those kind of things. So Shopput worked with us greatly with it, and we don't know what MSC is gonna come in and propose as far as, they can tell us 2023 and 2024, but in 25, we're gonna be looking at a $50 increase within being a year. So I think that's our biggest concern, is just the price.
I think that's a good question for you, fellas.
Yeah. So the questions about rate increases, so we did put in, because we heard feedback about concern about rate increases. So we put in the cap for the first couple of years. We have been out there a year plus, operating the system. There have been some surprises in terms of the expense to us to operate it. So we wanted to take a couple of years to get a full understanding of what it costs to operate the system. MSD is not for profit, so basically, like I said before, we have separate enterprises for each of these counties that we operate in, and we would have the same thing for Top Flight. So basically, we would look at what is the growth within the boundary of Top Flight, and what does that equate to in terms of revenue, and then how much does it cost to run the plant. So I can't forecast the future, but I would expect us to, and I will make the commitment that we would work with you the same way that Jack has, as far as rate increases. In this business, that's unfortunately a fact of life, and as a ratepayer, I don't like rate increases either, but there is a cost to operate a system and do it correctly, and reinvest in that infrastructure so you don't have another failure like we did a couple of years
Do you
ago.
all communicate with the board like Jack has? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
I will connect with that, yes.
From you all it comes from? Because we're the HOA board,
Yes.
two of them, of the three.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you my
I
information.
guess one other question I didn't ask was capacity issue, like with the growth, has that been looked at? Or is the system good?
As far as lack of capacity, or
Yeah.
Because there's more homes forecasted to be built.
sure,
right?
we actually, the question was about capacity at the plant, and so I can speak, one of the surprises that we had was the low flows that we're seeing on a daily basis at the plant. The low flows going through the plant. So, what that means for us operationally is that, we have to basically keep the plant, the plant is basically oversized right now, with the flows that are going through it. So to answer your question, there is not a capacity restriction at all. In fact, if more of the homes that are plotted for Top Flight get built out, that will help that situation from operations perspective.
I just had one other question. So the property that the actual building for the sewer plant is on was just sold to a Paul Whitehead, 29.6 acres.
Yeah, Paul's about by the.
I know, but he owns the dirt road now that takes you to the sewer plant. What access will you all have 24 hours a day to his gate that he's putting in?
Yeah, the owner, the plant, he owns 2 acres around the plant, and there's recorded easement that gives him access to the treatment plant.
But he's
Across-
putting a gate at the
across.
dirt road.
Yeah, we've been coordinating with Mr. Whitehead. He understands that both the owner of the plant and MSD at this point will all have to have access to whatever gate he constructs, and he's agreed to do so.
Okay. And will there be more pumping stations added then to make more capacity for the development, increases or expansion?
The plant, I believe, is under capacity. They need more houses on the plant for it to operate efficiently.
We have one pumping station now on Courthouse Court. And we have this main sewer building on the back of the Wills Way. And then there's 21 acres behind the 29.6 that the sewer plant is on. Because they're planning to build 45 more houses, I think the plot is for.
Yes,
Josh,
and
one of our
there is
builders,
one additional pump station included in that
that
development.
will be put where?
In that
In
development.
that section?
Yes, in that section.
Okay.
That's one other, this isn't the question you asked, but I'll answer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you're good.
This isn't exactly the question you asked, but I'll answer the question that came up to me. One of the things that we get quite a bit in Jefferson County and other places is like, well, you're pro-development and we're building all these systems out for people that want to develop, and that's not the case. Development, growth has to grow, pay for growth, and we do the same thing down here. So if there's a development that's approved that connects, and they need a pump station, if they are building that pump station, they have to
So
site
it
it.
doesn't go back to us on the cost.
No.
I mean, but you pretty much know what that's gonna be at the end. There's gonna be 60 more houses out there and it's done. So, I mean, in your opinion, there's no more growth gonna happen. I mean, just for these people, you know what the outcome's gonna be. I mean, do you see your prices being able to, kindly follow what you have here already? I mean, you know what the end game is gonna be.
Yeah, I can't really predict the future as far as,
Well, you don't know the cost of it, you don't know
cost, yeah,
anything,
and
but,
like the cost of,
I think you guys know around about how you set your rates.
We thought we knew how many houses are gonna be in there too, but fiscal court keeps allowing them to keep building, so. I mean,
Wes, if I could take a stab at Mr. Eldridge's question also. I don't know if everybody here in the room is aware of the Willow Island development.
It was quite
Nearby.
a got in there.
But Willow Island, the Willow Island development is adjacent to Top Flight, and they came to me in April of last year, asking about sewer capacity. And I basically wrote them a very carefully worded letter telling them that there would be extreme complications in going outside the Top Flight subdivision. And those involve the fact that we are now serving the homeowners association. And if you go outside the subdivision and essentially offer service to the public, you then trigger Public Service Commission regulation, which increases your costs. Anyway, Willow Island did not go through with a plan to put in sewers there. They will stay on septic tanks as it's drawn up right now. And they scaled it down from 21 homes to 15 homes. But that is one example of a nearby subdivision that could be pulled into this to help the customers and keep the rates a little bit lower than they would have been. And I've also had a request from an individual homeowner who bought from Willow Island, David Baker, been in contact with him. And he is very interested in getting sewers, whether it's from me or from MSD, and again, I explained to him that just me serving him currently would trigger PSC regulation, and that would be something the residents wouldn't want. But hopefully he can get sewer service if this all works out.
The question that I have, that I'd like to ask Jack and MSD folks, on behalf of the HOA. Okay, and anyone correct me if I got any of this wrong, the HOA has a boundary. The top flight has a boundary that's already on paper. You guys probably know what it is. It's odd, it doesn't look like a
It keeps
cave.
changing, yeah.
It looks like a bunch of letters laying, but anyhow, it has a defined boundary, just as this paper has a boundary. And when it's all built, whomever builds the already platted, that was platted before us, the 250-ish homes. I got all that right so far? In that area, if they're all built, it'll be 250-ish homes. You have about 190. I was here in December sitting in the crowd and listening, and this is what I remember. But my question to you guys is that, you know, we have an HOA that's established. What abilities will the HOA have if MSD were to own it? What abilities would they have to make decisions on expansion, growth, that sort of thing? You know, basically what I want to say is, does the HOA have the power themselves as a body politic per se to say, no, we don't want you running another pipe in here?
That's a good question. Yeah, so to answer that, I mean, I think I guess anything that would, in terms of expansion, would have to come through you all. So, yeah, it has to go through you all first. So, basically what we're doing is we're getting a request that says, like, we'd like to build, say 5 homes, and we want to run a sewer. We would look at our plant capacity and say, yes, there's capacity there. That's all that does, is say that, give that check of, yes, you have capacity. It doesn't speak for planning and zoning, it doesn't speak for you all, it doesn't speak for the HOA in terms of annexation, it doesn't do any of that. It just says, hey, we can serve them if they come along. So I don't know.
Can I piggyback off that for a second? So the 29 acres that Paul Whitehead bought, that's on where your sewer plant is in our neighborhood. He's not part of our HOA, so how is he able to get sewer from you all if he's not part of our neighborhood?
He is part of the original record plat.
His deed restrictions do not fall under top flight, so he does not fall under our neighborhood. So how can he tie into the sewer system if it's the top flight sewer system? We have a meeting about that Thursday, so we will also discuss this then with an attorney here.
Yeah, my opinion would be that his 26 acres is part of it's within the original boundary of the top flight subdivision. Whether he's bound by the HOA regulations or not, I would think that he would have access to the sewer system just because he is part of that original subdivision.
So if his property gets changed from deeded as residential to something different, does that change?
Yeah, I think that's in the planning.
That should be in the fiscal court.
Because we have that meeting Thursday, so
Yeah.
that kind of all ties into this, because he owns the property around the sewer plant.
I
And
mean,
he's,
you know, it's my understanding, and I don't know that his acreage was platted. Was it platted, Steve, for homes?
No.
no, he can
Yeah.
only build one house,
Okay, I got you.
but he's trying to change it from residential to ag.
So that process, you would have to come.
We have that meeting Thursday, yeah.
Well, let's go through planning and zoning first.
Planning and zoning are very
We have that Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if he's not part of top flight, which Jack just said, Willow Island came to him asking to be tied into our sewer system, and they are not part of top flight, so he said no. How is he allowed to be on our sewer system if he is not part of top flight? Because his property is not currently deeded to top flight landings, does not follow our deed restrictions, according to what we have for the meeting on Thursday.
I would, to be honest, I don't know.
No, you might not know, but
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, what difference would it make for him to tie on the sewer system? What,
I mean, it doesn't make a difference, to be honest with you. It's just a question, because he wouldn't allow other people to tie into it because they weren't part of our neighborhood. He's not part of our neighborhood, and so we're letting him tie.
I guess what I'm asking is how does it affect top flight, the sewer system, any of that.
Well, it's just one house, it doesn't affect the way it operates.
Okay.
I was under the impression that he had the right to.
Does he live in the one house?
He hasn't built it yet.
Is he going to live in it as a single family
We
residence?
have that meeting Thursday, Jim, I have no idea if he's even.
When did
gonna
he
build
acquire
it.
the property?
Sorry,
When did he acquire the property?
he bought it in November, I think, or
And
October,
who'd he buy it from?
from Bart Start.
So do you think if he moves in this house, he's gonna wanna tie his personal home into the sewer system
Well,
there?
I mean-
Or if he's gonna put a septic system?
And he doesn't have to.
No.
No, he doesn't have
No,
to,
he
but do you
doesn't
think he
have
will?
His plan is to connect the sewer. I've met him out there, and his intention is to build a home and connect to the sewer.
Well, that part, it's just because you said that it would, if we find outside sources.
I don't think this has anything to do with really what we're talking about.
Well, his property is located in that perimeter boundary. And my opinion would be at the end of the day, if he wanted to divide it into third acre tracts.
He can't divide it, it's not allowed to be subdivided.
If you look back at I'd say if you look at, back at the original deed development before your all's HOA was formed, I think that you will find that his 29 acres was a part of the original development plans. Plans change all the time, and that's just, as for whether he can hook to it or doesn't hook to it, I don't think it's gonna matter. I think what your all situation is, he just wasn't, whenever your all HOA was developed or set forth or established, and he just wasn't put a part of it, because it's what being developed, it wasn't a phase of the subdivision. I think that's pretty much what you are gonna find when you look at that. As far as him hooking on to it or putting in a septic system on it, it's gonna make no difference. The more, if I'm understanding everything that I'm being explained to, looking at all this, the more people that are actually using your all's plant, the better off your plant actually is, correct?
Yes, and the cheaper it
The
is.
cheaper it is for everybody. So,
To a certain point.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, setting all that aside, I have a question. Do you have a capital projection of what it would take to replace that plant totally? Because we had that catastrophic failure in July. What would be the capital cost, a projection, don't need a, do you know what a capital projection would be to put another plant of its kind in place?
I do not, and we haven't, to be honest, we haven't considered replacing the plant just because it's, excuse me. So, question was about the capital costs of replacing the plant.
The entire plant,
The
if we
entire
had a
plant.
major catastrophic failure.
If we had a major catastrophic failure, we haven't considered that because we've been out there and we've been operating, we've been maintaining it. And the plant is, quite frankly, for a sewer plant, is in pretty good shape. It's, fairly, in the grand scheme of things, it's not as old and as in the condition as some of the other ones that we've seen recently. I won't name any names, but
I'm just
it's
looking
not.
because,
It's not.
because what he was saying earlier is the plant has been around since what, 2005 roughly?
Got put in around 2006.
So 2006.
But even
Well, wait a minute, let me ask my question, please. I'll let you, let me ask my question. It's been in since 2006. Look at the history of how long those plants survived. Did they survive 20 years? Did they survive 30 years? So say if they survive 20 years, you're looking at 2026. Do you have to do a capital reorg and put that whole plant in, replace it lock, stock, and barrel, or are you gonna piece, I'm just asking.
Yeah, can I take a stab at your question? Based on what I see and based on my experience with the Public Service Commission, it seems to me when these plants get 30 or 40 years old, they need significant repairs, rehab, things of that nature. This plant is only 2023, 17 years old.
17 years old.
So it's still got a ways on the cost curve. We may all be dead by then.
Well, my family may be living there still because my grandchildren and other children. So I have to look out for the future.
Sure.
And so what I'm looking at is for future residents to come in and saying, okay, if there's some cost projections of what it's gonna take to rebuild this in, say, 2036, are we gonna back this up, starting rate increases to build into that? Or are you gonna say, okay, are we gonna take from 2026 to 36 where we've had the useful life of it expiring and we need to build a new plant? Are we building those costs into what your future potential rate increases? I'm just asking.
part of the longevity of these systems is also based on how well they're maintained during their initial years of service. For instance, the steel tankage at Top Light has already been cleaned and repainted, which is unheard of for a facility of this age. To follow up on your question about the pump station, what I call a catastrophic failure of the pump station, it wasn't a failure of the pump station itself, the pump station is fine, but there was a mechanical failure within the pump station that caused the problem and didn't have the redundancy that we needed in order to isolate those flows before the overflow happened. So it's not that there's anything inherently wrong with the pump station, it was an inherently bad design, and there was a simple mechanical failure. I mean, it was literally probably would have been a $300 repair had it been done prior to that failure.
And I think not to speak out of school here, but I think there's also perhaps an operator issue in that the responsiveness of the operator to get out and address it maybe wasn't as.
Yeah, in that particular situation, the operator was not the issue. It was a failure within the pump station. It was recycling flow within the station. There was no way to do anything about it without just bringing the hauler in and starting to haul sewage from the station, which is what happened eventually. But the damage at that point had already been done.
But to answer that question too, so Steve talked about the maintenance, which I like to, as much pride as I can take in sewers. I like to think that MSD does a good job of proactive maintenance and operation of facilities. And, so I think that does buy you some more time on a facility. But we also look at, to your point, forecasts of, when is this, even with that maintenance, what is the trend and when is it going to be replaced? And that's with any asset that we have as part of our, we have a pretty robust asset management system that we collect data and make those kinds of decisions. So that's part of the rate. And so we're not going to see, hopefully, unless there's something like act of God wise, we're not going to see a catastrophic failure that we've seen in some other counties that we're now in. But when it comes time to replace that facility, it will be in a way that those rates are managed so that it's not like a one-time hit that you're going to get. And that's.
And if I can add here too, just to picture the plant, you've got a small lift station off of the landings, and you've got a big treatment plant off of Wills Way. And that big treatment plant is going to be a whole lot more expensive if it were to be replaced than the small lift station. And in fact, when the sewer emergency happened, the people that Steve was fortunate enough to get to come out there and do that actually upgraded that lift station. So it's in much better shape than it was previously.
And one last comment, and I know this wasn't part of the question either, but about maintenance. We have telemetry on these systems, so we can see whether it's in a truck, drive around, or downtown Louisville, we can get a picture of what's happening at the plant. And so if something starts to go, and we're pretty active in visiting the facility, and so if something starts to go sideways, we can respond pretty quickly to that.
So I guess a follow-up too, so once now that MSD takes over, we follow the PSC requirements, correct?
The PSC does not regulate MSD.
Okay, I just want to get that out there.
Right.
Because I don't want to, because.
Right. But on the other hand, the PSC regulates bluegrass water. And I just shared with you gentlemen the fact that the PSC regulating somebody does not guarantee low rates.
I get that.
What is the maximum capacity of that treatment plant?
120,000 gallons per day.
How many more homes roughly, just that?
Well, we're not even at capacity.
So you're not even
They
half
said
of
it's running like less than half.
So how many more homes? Another 250, 300?
It's running at 33,000 gallons per day right now. You're talking
We may be 50,000 gallons a day by the time it's built out, including the compound.
but y'all pumping water to it right now to keep it flowing.
Right, that's exactly right.
So actually more homes
More
will help
homes would make it
the
better.
flow and keep the cost of the rates down?
That's right.
It would help.
That's right. you know, to a limit, like you said, to a limit. And,
As of right now, you say you have 168 customers currently,
yes,
and you can take a projection of 245 when every lot's built out in top flight, okay? You're still 20+% below your own capacity that you're predicting. And when we met last Monday in the judge's office with you guys, you stated that for this station to operate efficiently, it needs to be operated at full capacity. Okay, you can never reach full capacity with the homes in top flight. You're still going to be a maximum of 245, and you say you can handle 300. So my question is, again, back in February or December when we had the meeting, that was one of my questions. Were you planning on getting these other houses to tie on to this outside of top flight? You know, legally you can't do it now,
right.
because we do have ordinance number 4, 2008, that was enacted for this reason, or one of the reasons, is to prevent a lot of things from happening that would be detrimental to the county. And this sewer district, which the board has not been manned since the ordinance was passed, but it can be at any time. One of your regulations or whatever it was for the county to rescind this and get rid of it. Well, if we do that, then we're giving up, the county government is giving up all responsibility at that point, in my opinion. And it's not the way to go, in my opinion. Again, you know, my question to you was, you know, why does MSD want to be here in Spencer County? Why does MSD want to purchase a small sewer treatment plant that is losing money and doesn't have the potential to come up to its potential of 300 homes? So why would they want to come and do that and buy a business that's losing money? You know, to me, this is a private enterprise. It's owned by a single person, and you know, it's a business deal. You know, I hate to say it, I hate to see anybody get into a business deal where they're losing money on it. I understand. I was in business. Not the place to be. But I don't think it's the place to get rid of that business interest that's losing money off onto the people of Spencer County through this interlocal agreement, because we're giving up as county government way too much than what we're getting. And I think it's I think the interlocal agreement is not good for the county. It may be good for the people that's living in Top Flight right now, but you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. So we can't make a decision for 245 homes there without considering how that's going to play out with the other 7,000 homes in the county.
Jim, if I could say a couple things. First of all, I think you may have misunderstood. I don't think we ever, or MSD ever stated that the plant had to be at full capacity in order for it to operate properly. It does need to receive more flow than it does today.
If it had 300, you've got 300 customers paying. If you've got 245, you've got 245 paying. It's dollars and cents there, right?
My only point is it doesn't need to see 120,000 gallons a day to operate properly. That's not what was stated. So
I made a mistake if I said properly, but to operate efficiently, money-wise, that's where it needs to be. Am I correct?
Yes. In terms of the sanitation district, there's ordinance 4 authorized the creation of the sanitation district. My understanding from discussing that issue with folks in the MSD, we have the same question. What does one have to do with the other? And I think the issue was that there was some confusion about whether the ordinance that allowed the creation of the board, did that mean that the sanitation district was the one who needed to execute this interlocal agreement with MSD, or does it need to be fiscal court? So in order to eliminate that question, if if that ordinance were repealed, so that it doesn't exist at the time, there's nothing that keeps the county from creating that sanitation district in the future. That's not the intent of what we're trying to do.
I got one more thing on that. Just speak to the ordinance. Just wanted to clarify that, reading that, I think what would suffice is not necessarily completely rescinding it, but putting in a caveat. I think there's a caveat for the city of Taylorsville and I think adding language to say that the local MSD adding them to that list, those that can operate within the county.
Yeah, this ordinance was created in, like 2008, and it was never seated. It was never, no one was ever, the 5 members were never seated to this sanitation district. And my understanding, I've read it several times, but basically, if it were seated and the sanitation district was created, then this district would have authority over all of Spencer County with the exception of what the city of Taylorsville already runs. And anyone correct me if I get any of this wrong. So basically what the city of Taylorsville has, or if they were to expand some, as they do from time to time, you know, that would be under their regulations, their governing body. Harold, go ahead.
I know about that much, about being dangerous. I'm Carl Cochran, City of Taylorsville, Public Works Director. Hey, I'm kind of confused a little bit, and it's not easy to do that, and it's hard to do that, excuse me. Long Island, they did speak about it, Long Island. If I'm not sure, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why they had the rule, if you're within either 100 feet or 200 feet of the sanitary sewer line, they can require you to top that line. It don't matter what it's at. They can require you to do that. So, you got that 201 or 401 or whatever it's ever do, that right there, don't do that. If it's signed, whatever. The county, I had to ask you to take that bottom of it out here, if it ever happens. Y'all have to send us a letter and turn it over to us. I don't know about top lights, but you all have to create a letter and give that to MSD. I don't know who you have to, but it's y'all's district. Right. It's not ours.
Right, right.
Yes, and again, I'll read you, you were talking about doing away with this ordinance. And this is the summary page for the December 12th meeting, and this is what Judge Riley wrote for us to do, that we needed to do. And it says, fiscal court must approve this agreement and authorize the county judge to execute it. In addition, fiscal court will be required to repeal the old 2008 ordinance authorizing establishing the sewer district board. This ordinance must be rescinded by a new ordinance. Now, that's what the meeting we had in December. That's information we got. And it was kind of, in my opinion, pushed down our throats at that time by the county judge. And that's why I never went anywhere, because you throw it out on the table and say, this is what we have to do, without any information from anybody, from you guys or anybody.
Why do you need this ordinance going to operate? I don't see why this holds you up from operating with what you're saying you're gonna do right now.
KRS says if this ordinance is in place, you have to have an interlocal agreement with MSD.
All right, so why do they want to get rid of this? They've got an interlocal agreement. They can have an interlocal agreement and still keep the ordinance, correct?
Yeah, the agreement would be with the sanitation district.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe, according to KRS, if we have this ordinance in effect, they can enter into an interlocal agreement with the county.
I think we're asking the wrong question, not the,
Yeah. If you look at this ordinance, it says, all affected property owners having property upon which there is a building that is or becomes occupied and that is accessible to a centralized sewer system shall make a sewer service connection to that system. So this ordinance would require a homeowner or a business to connect to a sewer system as long as it was.
That sewer system may also be a septic system in that not the system that they've got out there.
It says they can apply for a waiver.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I didn't have to do, but just deal other than this extra curriculum. But we have a 201 facilities plan, 201 area, that's actually, we can actually put sewer in, you all have the rest of it. It's not us. So, I don't, like I said, I don't know about top lines, that was before you all did that. What I do know is, and nothing against the USD, okay? I work with Patty on the water side really good, so don't give her a minute. But you're saying is, or someone said, that next 2 years, increase in rates, whatever. What about the next 10 years? I mean, what about the next 10 years?
We don't know.
And that's,
Well,
I want to know those kind of things.
Well,
Because I do know MSD, and I do know from the water.
Well, I think we all know
I think the citizens
that
have to be.
we're gonna have, there's gonna be sewer rate increases almost every year from now on till eternity. That's just a fact of life. And I think we know how much it's gonna be is a different story, but they're gonna come, we're all gonna pay it. So, I don't think that's the question here, is what's the rate's gonna be. Nobody can predict what the rate's gonna be, except what it's gonna be now when this takes effect. After that, who knows?
Well, I think we can predict what it might be if it was transferred to a private operator. We know that.
You could probably come close, yeah.
We know that range pretty well.
You know, the reason we wanted to have this meeting and invite you guys, and we'll have another one in the future if need be. It's no problem at all. You guys requested. But you know, we're looking out for all the citizens in Spencer County. That includes every citizen in Spencer County. So you guys need a solution because you have a problem. In order for your toilets to flush, that sewer plant has to be in operation. And when you guys moved in there, you may not have worried about it, because as long as the toilet flushes, it's not a problem. The first day it doesn't flush, then we got a problem. We've all lived that owning homes. But what we want to do as a fiscal court, and I want to make sure as judge, is that we want to have discovery of options and work with you guys because it affects you guys, because it's your neighborhood. But we want to have discovery of options of what will meet you all's needs, that'll be affordable and dependable, and, you know, be the best choice, sir, for the future when your grandkids are living there. We want to make long-term decisions, you know, correct decisions that'll be good, best for the long term. So these guys have they have an offering, I guess, to purchase. There are other companies mentioned. There are other options that are possibly out there, but we want to be because we got elected to represent you guys. So we want to be the voice to get you guys what you need, whatever it is.
Well, I would ask one thing, that we would have all the options placed in a written format submitted to the HOA members so they can pass it to.
We just got this today.
This was just received today from listening, but I would ask that,
We just got it today.
I would ask that all what he was stating be put down in writing, so everyone in Top Flight, and potential Willow, and Perfect Landing, whomever, in that area knows exactly what is coming, what is projected, and what could be projected by other entities that could come in and take it over other than MSD. Because if we do not have the proper information, I don't think you can make an informed decision and feel good about yourself and go home and put your head down and say everything was good for this decision as a court making it. Because the constituents were not given all the information properly. Just my.
Well, I think that's totally fair. And you know, this affects you guys the most because this is your community. And of course, it affects us to make sure that it doesn't affect you guys negatively. And then also inaction is not an option because you have a plant that the seller wants to sell.
Well, I got a question for Jack and for Harold. Have y'all spoke with the city of Taylorsville about purchasing it? I don't know if y'all be interested, but.
They're not gonna purchase it. They won't purchase it.
Well, you don't think you would?
Oh, I know they're not gonna purchase it.
Why?
Yeah, why not?
MSD's trying to.
I'm gonna tell you what, sewer for us is no money maker.
Oh, and I
And
understand
then,
that.
I don't, did y'all say y'all was under PSC or not under PSC? See, we're not on PSC, we don't have to go to them, we can raise our rates, whatever they would choose to, they can raise their rates, whatever they choose to.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all have a board that to decide those things, so there's no one to really stop them from doing anything. So, but I know the city's not gonna.
I still, y'all ain't never answered my question, so if we seated this board, which you don't want, let's say we did, and then signed the interlocal agreement, would you come in here and operate if we seated this board and we're over you?
I don't think the board being seated has any effect on the operation of the plant.
Then why do they not want, why would they want us to revoke this? It has nothing to do with it.
And I think I said, I was trying to say a minute ago, I think there's some confusion about the fact that even though that board was not seated, the fact that the ordinance was approved that allowed the creation of the district, there was some confusion about whether it would have been the board, the sanitation board who's authorized and executed the ILA with MSD, or if it would be fiscal court. The elimination of the ordinance at any given time would eliminate that confusion. But that doesn't keep the court from creating a sanitation district in the future. And no one's opposed to that. But if you create a sanitation district today, it wouldn't include Top Flight because it's a privately owned system.
And I think my comment from a minute ago is, and I'm not aware of it, but the comment about, there's language in there that our legal folks have objection to that would, in their reading, would prohibit us from operating and owning a facility in the county if that board is seated because of the way it's worded. Now, you could add language that carves out, in addition to the city of Taylorsville, carves out where we want to see it. I think we would be, again, I'm not aware, I can't speak to that for sure, but I think that would be acceptable to us.
Well, I think we need to know what wording needs took out or replaced or.
Yeah, we'll need to research that some with legal guidance from you guys and others. But anyway, just, anyone else, I feel like we've probably covered about every, do y'all have any other points that are unique to points that already been made that anyone would like to bring up here at the table?
No, I think a big point was made by MSD that they're not drumming up business, but if something comes along and want to tie on, then their only input will be yes or no, whether we can take the capacity of that or not. But they, he stated there that, we're not going to be out drumming up business to tie on to it, and I think that's was a concern, with some people, talking about expansion, of course, Jim kind of hinted at that, if they're not going to be out here drumming up expansion to go into this, then why are they purchasing a plant that's never gonna make money? And I don't think that question was answered.
Jack, go
Can I
ahead.
clarify that? This plant was profitable until we had a sewer disaster in 2021. And I have had huge repair bills. I had the county cleanup costs of over $150,000. I've had legal bills, I've had consulting bills, and I haven't drawn any compensation for the last 2 years. So this plant was profitable, and if you add customers, I believe it will be profitable.
I mean, in reality, MSD would not be here if they aren't gonna make money in it. Reality.
Bingo.
Because if they weren't gonna make money, they wouldn't have shown up, and we would be somebody else buying it.
Well, further that along, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to make money on this plant. I don't think they can make money on this plant to make it viable for them. but it's the surrounding area 25 years from now that's gonna be tied into that system. That's where they're gonna make their money. Because in this interlocal agreement that they prepared, it says several different times about, what was the wording? A long-range regional water waste solution. You know, they mentioned that, well, what is the long range? You know, they have, MSD, organizations that as large as MSD, they know what they're planning 25 years from now. You know, are they gonna run a sewer line from here to Shepherdsville? You know, regionally, that's what regionally I would think. Who knows? But I think they've got business deals and ideas that we don't know, and I think that it'll only come to pass if they purchase this, that they will, in my opinion, will have to increase the capacity by the surrounding area. And that may come to the point where the plant, when the plant's 30 years old, they completely refurbish it and double the capacity on it.
I don't think whether we have sewers or not is a big question, because I think sewers are the better way to go over septic. I think that it's our responsibility, if we're concerned about the way the county's gonna turn out because somebody has sewers, then it's our responsibility to make the changes to planning and zoning to prevent those, what we're saying we don't want. So, I mean, because somebody wants to be on a sewer, I mean, I'd like to be on a sewer. I just spent, $10,000 putting in a new septic system because the one I had failed, so I'd love to be on a sewer. But I can't. But I think that that's the way to go. But it's, if we're concerned about the way that the county's is gonna grow because you put a sewer line in, then we need to change things to make sure that we control that better. So, and that's up to us to change that.
Can I add on to that? Well, I was just gonna say that, and I think too, that, you was talking about that long range, thing in there, and I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, if they expanded out long range, your system would just be a small part of a bigger plan at that point, not to say that they're gonna take the whole county or whatever they expand to and run it through Top Flight Landing. But at the same time, we talk about economic development and things out in the Elk Creek area, and if businesses wanna come in there, that they have to have sewer. We know that the city doesn't want it. And if you want sewer out there, this could be one small step in that direction to have something close by that may be viable for us later on in that, in that aspect too. I'm just throwing that out there.
We've touched on what is smart growth in the past some. What's a good way for individuals to have a home to live in. We're fortunate that if we have a home that we can go home to, we're a lot wealthier than a lot of people in the world. So everyone needs a home. But then when we look at smart growth and we talk about dividing your farms, you take a 500-acre farm, you split it into 5-acre tracts, you've got 100 tracts. You take a, is that right? I don't know. Did I get it right? When you take let's go to a 100-acre farm. You take a 100-acre farm and you divide it into 5-acre tracts, you got 20 tracts. You take a 100-acre farm and you divide it in 1/3 acre tracts and put it on a city sewer. Now you have 300 homes. You have 300 families. You have 300 of our grandkids. You have 300 of our great-grandkids. Your parents can celebrate a 50th anniversary with 4 or 5 generations that are all living in Spencer County with you. I have 3 kids, and I hope they live in the county, and I hope their kids live in the county. So where are they going to live? But when we look at smart growth, I'm with Dan. The sewer is a smart growth, because you can, if people choose to live in a third acre, on a third acre tract in a neighborhood, there's a lot of advantages to that. And one advantage is that you have more inhabitants that are family members, mostly. And you're not using up all of your farmland. So you actually are having the best of both worlds when you do have a sewer system. But, you know, looking at that long term, and we do have challenges on our planning and zoning in different ways we can look at it, and we can discuss that at another date. But, you know, what I see without a top flight, and again, the point has been made that you need to add more capacity to get it up to top notch. And then the more houses that are there, you would think that would keep your rates lower. You know, those are good selling points for a sewer. Those are good selling points for a sewer. But again, we need to come up with those options, and I would like to offer to the residents, and if Jack would maybe go to the HOA and kind of give them a few answers as they try to forge their decisions on different things. I'm all for options. In any way that we can help you, Jack is your owner. Any ways he can help you, I hope he would reach out. And I want to thank him again in front of everyone for paying the county back for that mishap that they had a couple years ago. I ran for office, I didn't even know we had that debt. And then we got the last payment, and that was wonderful. And I appreciate someone that steps up to their obligations. Thank you for that. So anyway, anybody like to add anything else?
Well, you know, this is government at work at its best. And I can tell you what, this man was born and raised in the county. I was born and raised in the county. We have different views on what the population growth would be. He's in favor of the quarter-acre tracts, you know, or whatever. In the 4+ years that I've been sitting here in Top Flights in my district, I've had more people from Top Flight subdivision call me, email me, talk to me, complain. Not all of them's complaints, but I've had many more from Top Flight than every other subdivision or combined in my district. I may have had 3 or 4 in the 4 years outside of Top Flight. And Top Flight, I probably had 50. So what does that tell me when I look at density is that when you take people, and this is nothing to do with Top Flight, it's just the way I see it is when you take people and you cram them in together, side by side, and there's no sidewalks for their kids to ride their bikes on, they have to ride in the street, there's no street lights, and you pack these in there, you've got garbage trucks, you've got buses, you've got all these heavy vehicles coming back through these subdivisions that are just packed to the max. People get irritated with one another. The subdivisions where I have 1 acre tracts or bigger, I never hear any of that. So, you tell me. I think that density in Spencer County is not called for because I think it's going to be detrimental to the county down the road. And I was born and raised in Elk Creek, and I've seen it all happen. And I can see it continue to happen from the Gene Snyder coming out this way. In 50 years, we will be J-Town. There will be no farmland between here and J-Town. It'll be commercial all out this road. And that's the way it's going to be. Now, do we want to have all this land packed with people so dense that they can't maneuver, they can't get around? A way of life means so much to people of Spencer County. To me, I got 7 acres. I wouldn't have anything less to live on because I don't want people around me. Not that I don't like them. My dog may run over there and chase his chickens, but he'll run him back. I said, throw a stick at him. But when you're grouped together in those compact subdivisions like that, tensions rise. That's just human nature.
Jim, I agree with you, and my comment earlier was not about
residential development. I was just throwing it out there that we talked with this court, even in our short term, and the previous court talked about it, that, and you talked about trying to get on the Bourbon Trail, another economic development that we might want to bring into the county that may be smart development and economic development for our county, and things of that nature. We talked about the main things that we're lacking, and we talked about doing smart growth economically is that a lot of these places want sewer, and the other thing is natural gas. And we don't have either one of those things, and I just thought that we might just want to put an extra ear to this, as this would provide maybe some relief in getting one step closer to the sewer option for smart economic development, not really as much as us, as residential, but as far as economic, as far as business is concerned. Well, I would support sewers everywhere in the county. I would, if they were on 1 acre lots. If you want to build on an acre lot and tie into a sewer system, fine. But to me, if there's going to be sewers in the county, all over the county, we need to get rid of the R2 zoning that requires 1/4 acre lots and do away with it and go to the 1 acre lots, period, or larger.
I think we've gotten off subject here, but I'll make one last comment. Our last fiscal court meeting, we had a discussion for probably an hour that directly relates to this. These people live on this road that was not designed for residential growth, was designed for farmland. They stated, we used to have 2 houses on it, 2 or 3 houses, and everything was fine. Now they've got 50-something houses on it, and the road can't support that. And that's all over the county. And it's not just the roads, it's the fire department, it's EMS, it's our police service. We can't grow like crazy and not, without.
Your growth has to be more than just 500 houses, but that's one of the
The R2 zoning, in my opinion, it is a economic benefit for developers and business people that are in that business. I was a home builder for 30 years, I know. And so, it all boils down to money.
Yes, sir.
If I could just make one point to piggyback on what Jim just said. I think it's amazing that I am sitting here with the county leaders of Spencer County and that you all are debating this issue. In other words, I think it's pretty cool that these people have input into this process. And the point I want to make is that with a bluegrass water, the customers of Persimmon Ridge, the customers of Woodland Acres, all those 20 systems they had, this was invisible to them. In other words, they got taken over one day, and in some cases, their rates went from $19 a month to $85.97 a month. With these people here, they're sitting here tonight and they're willing to listen to you and take your input and hopefully come up with a good solution here that you will not have I don't feel you'll have with a Bluegrass Water or a Kentucky American. Kentucky American has a small headquarters in Lexington, but they're actually owned by one of the biggest water companies in the country, which is American Water Works out of New Jersey. So, when you start talking about those kind of companies, you don't have influence on them the way you have on MSD. And I just think it's really cool, like I say, that we're here tonight talking about this.
So,
I was just going to kind of bring this all back full circle here when I asked for information. Could we have a date from you, promised by you, or do people of the HOA would have all the information passed on to everyone that lives in Top Flight?
We have it.
I mean, we have all the rates?
We have it from Jack, yes.
We have it from
We just
Jack,
didn't
okay.
have these papers until today.
Okay.
This deal out.
I know I've spoken, a lot of us have spoken. Zach, you got anything to add?
I just take it all in.
All right, well, you've talked a little, but.
Well, I'm just gonna say,
As myself, so.
I think you guys would probably run this better than anyone else, but if you want my support, and to be honest, I haven't read this because I've briefly seen it in December and didn't read it, but if you want my support, I just want something cut and dry that, you guys are gonna operate that, and any kind of growth we have to regulate. However that is with the ordinance, intermittent.
And I'll second to that.
It has to, we have to regulate.
Something that locks you all into the confinement of Top Flight subdivision.
Unless approved through planning and zoning and physical court.
I think you all be the best choice, other than get the city, you know, maybe.
We would rather, we all.
Good dollar price.
I think we're all in agreement with that we all agree that MSD would probably be the best choice with this, as long as the county maintains oversight by whatever means to the extent of growth of this, and make sure that it's comprehensive with our smart growth.
I've done work with JJ, and I've done work beside you all, I know what it is to work beside you all, and I will lock in pretty tight.
Now, whoever the legal person is out there, seem me like that KRS says that this interlocal agreement must be made between the county and MSD for you to purchase it, okay? With this ordinance in place, you cannot do that. Is that correct? By state law?
The way that, if we go back to the ordinance, and again, I don't think we have any, I don't speak for anybody other than the ones I know, I don't think we have any lawyers from our side, but the way I read the ordinance is that if there's a carve out for Louisville MSD in line with what's carved out for the city of Taylorsville, that allows us to operate in the county, that would suffice.
Well, you know, I would not be out of the question of MSD taking over. I'll say that. But we need to get the wording down specifically.
Well, we need to have a meeting with
that we want.
your legal team here too. Or judge's office.
Get your lawyers to go to court or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine, we can do that, and, yeah, we took a lot of comments from the last, even, or not the last, the meeting in December. I know that you had, some comments about the regional language, struck all that. There was a question about the stormwater utility side of it. We put in language specific that said that wasn't part of this, and we didn't have the authority to assess branch fees to any of the customers in Top Light or anywhere that we serve in Spencer County, or just anywhere in Spencer County. And then we also tried to put some language in that kind of gave the massage that sort of spoke to the question about our boundaries and what we operated in. And so we tried to do that. We can get that and try to massage that some more. We're more than happy to meet with you and you all, if you see fit.
I don't think that's what needs to be done.
I think one thing that we need to do on our side is really look at this ordinance though, because if we don't want, I mean, there's some wording in here that kind of troublesome to me about the fact that if you're within 1,500 feet of a sewer line, you have to connect. And that you're at the owner's expense. So.
I don't know why they would have it.
Well, because if they start expanding and we start allowing expansion, then you're not gonna have an option. Like I said, I just spent all that money on a new septic
Well, I was
system.
saying, I don't know why they would put that in.
Oh, yeah, so.
There is some wording in there that says you can apply for a waiver, and as
For a
long as,
waiver, though.
well, as long as the health department inspects your system and it's working fine, then you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have any systems in this county.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up. Anyone in the audience would like to speak up? Are y'all satisfied that this was a good start on getting where we need to go? That's what I'm most concerned
Do you
about.
say anything, or are you here from, are you the muscle?
He's handing out the cards. He's handing out the cards.
But anyway, yeah, I have no plan in us taking action on this tonight. We just wanted to have a public discussion about it so we could get all of our thoughts on the same page. And I hope everyone's satisfied that we attempted to do that. Yes, sir.
Sorry, what is the earliest you will consider this?
Oh, it'll be in the near future because I know stuff needs to happen.
I'm not trying to pin you to a date, but I'm just saying, are we looking 30 days, 60 days? Because I know all the legal teams have to get together and.
I'd say at least be 60 days or more before we get everything ironed out.
Just wanted to make sure so that way.
But dragging it on into summer, we need to resolve this before the,
We have to give the residents 2 week notice
On
on.
the HOA meeting, so if we're gonna discuss it at an HOA meeting, we just have to have, which we can call a special HOA meeting, it's not a big deal, you're welcome to join us if you want.
if you need a place to have it, we can do that. I mean, we could have it here if it's available, we could have it, anywhere in the community.
And the library lets us
Library.
use the room there.
Yeah, we try to get it tonight because we didn't know how big the crowd would be.
I'm surprised there's not more people.
They had
here.
something going on.
As long as they post it, as much as they try to get involved on Facebook about.
Right, but anyway, we'll,
Hey, what I want to say to you guys is, this court's probably the best court I've
Yeah.
seen. It can have a discussion and sound intelligently. Thank you guys, every single one of them. Yes, thank you guys.
thank you, we'll end on that. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Guy, second by Will. Neither favorable nor amendable. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you all.
Don't run off.
I'm running.
Just leave it. Thank you.